Does everybody here remember the wildfire season during the months of August and September? How the air would be filled with smoke and dust and it felt hard to breathe? Or if you're like me and have asthma, had the great inconvenience of carrying around an inhaler everywhere that you went? Well, unfortunate news for everyone here. According to the 2050 Climate Change Report released by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, these terrible wildfire seasons that we experience will only become more frequent and long as climate change continues to impact our world. This news was one of only many alarming conclusions that the IPCC made in conjunction with the United Nations, but it serves as a startling reminder that climate change will continue to impact our surrounding region. Personally, like many others here, I've consistently seen reports of the devastation climate change has caused elsewhere in the world, but less so in our local community. And unfortunately, while these global impacts are unprecedented, the effects of climate change are also felt within Moscow, albeit with less visibility. But before I talk about the local effects of climate change, let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Nicole Xiao, and I'm currently a sophomore at Moscow High School. I've always been interested in climate change and conservation efforts, and I first became acutely aware of the destruction of it during my annual visits back to China. While I was there were many days in which the sky outside was gray, clouds of smog covering up an otherwise blue sky. Other times, the smell of exhaust filled the streets, so that the air I breathed eventually morphed into coughing. I realized then that no one should have to live in such an unhealthy environment like this on a daily basis. Now, going back to local efforts that taken to combat climate change, one such example is the REACH program at the University of Idaho. REACH stands for Regional Approaches to Climate Change, and it is headed by Dr. Sanford Eigenbrod. As over 85% of our crops are without irrigation, there's a heavy reliance on natural rainwater. However, as erratic weather patterns and global warming continue to occur due to climate change, water resources can become affected, and this in turn also affects the soil fertility. Through this program, scientists at REACH are able to serve the police by researching the effects of climate change on cereal production systems in the region. One of their initiatives has been to research the socio-economic factors of climate change on cereal production, and they have found that over 90% of participants who engaged in this survey believe that climate change will impact their crop sustainability. This demonstrates that farmers within the region are aware of the effects of climate change and are willing to alter their ways to combat this. REACH has also been encouraging climate-friendly farming practices through farmer-to-farmer communication. One example is the usage of no-tilling farming technique, in which the soil is not tilled yearly, allowing for it to retain more nutrients while releasing less carbon into the atmosphere. Not only is REACH an active member of combating climate change, but many of my classmates and community members within our town are as well. This past year, many MHS students have worked at Phillips Farm on the Native Wetlands Project in an effort to rebuild the flora and fauna there. I myself have also spearheaded a project that involves building bee boxes to aim to increase the native bee population at Phillips Farms. As you can see, Moscow has been doing a fantastic job of combating climate change, but there is always more that we can do. I encourage each and every one of you here to sign the Ready for 100 petition, an initiative aimed towards creating communities that rely completely on renewable energy resources. The hope is that by 2035, Moscow will cut all fossil fuels and be solely dependent on renewable energy sources. But this can only happen with your support. I also heavily encourage everyone here to actively take part in lobbying. This can be in the form of writing letters, emails, or even leaving a simple voicemail in your state senators and representatives. You may not believe that what you're doing is valuable, important, or even worthy of your time, but you're wrong, and Greta Thunberg is a living example of this. She refused to attend school every Friday to instead protest and raise awareness for climate change. And now, well, she's giving presentations to the UN, has testified before Congress, and sparked a global movement. You may not accomplish what Greta did, but that's okay. It does not matter however big or small what you do, but it matters that you do something. Thank you.